That's better. I like this. I like this a lot. So if you watched last week's video, I mentioned that I have been pretty obsessed with filmmaking recently. And coming from the photography world, I thought I knew a lot about filmmaking. I thought that I would have a good handle of it. Turns out I don't. Turns out it's a whole different thing. So these are the things that I have learned coming from photography, trying to become a better filmmaker. What filmmaking has taught me as a photographer. I think that's right. Anyway, you get the idea. Now, to preface this, I wasn't really planning on making this video because it's supposed to be the same. I watched a live stream from one very good filmmaker as a podcast anyway, and I asked him a question when he's on this live stream. How do I become a better filmmaker, better cinematographer? He was like, it's just like photography. Just got to keep doing it. Like, what? And spoiler alert, it's not. It's not like photography. Yes, you're using a camera, but it's completely different. Not completely different, but you get the idea. It's a different craft, a different skill. So I have written down the things that I have learned to try to become a better filmmaker. Things that I have learned to try to elevate my skill. And the first major thing that I have learned about filmmaking is where the camera is in the space matters so much. And yes, it matters in photography. Of course it does. But when you're filmmaking, you're trying to create a feeling of what is happening in that scene. And with photography, most of the time you're just trying to capture a beautiful scene. Like, let's be completely honest. Most of the time you're trying to create a beautiful image. When it comes to filmmaking, you're more heavily focused on telling a story or creating an emotion, and where your camera is in the space of the scene can heavily impact that. Now, this one I'm still learning myself. It has been tough to learn to where to put the camera. Has been very difficult for me to kind of not master, but get better at. It is a very interesting skill to be able to place the camera in a room to make your video feel really good. The second thing that I have learned about filmmaking is exposure is way too important. As a photographer, exposure is pretty easy, especially when you're shooting in RAW like a lot of photographers do. You have a lot of playroom. When you're shooting on a camera, especially when it doesn't have RAW, like I don't shoot the 8K RAW that the R5 can shoot. You have to nail that exposure because it is very tough to correct, especially overexposed video. It is very hard to correct that afterwards. So nailing your exposure in camera is it's detrimental to your video. The third thing, and this is probably my favorite thing I've been learning, is camera movement versus subject movement. Of course, everyone knows video is moving images. That is what video is made up of. A bunch of images combined together in a sequence to add movement. But there's different kinds of movement. And of course it makes sense when you say it out loud, but it didn't really hit me at first. But when you are trying to create an emotion like we talked about when it comes to cameras in the space of your scene, the different kind of camera movements are actually very important. The different kind of movements are very important. Like right now I have a static shot and I'm the subject moving throughout my scene. But if you take the camera off into a handheld or a gimbal or whatever, then you create camera movement. And when not to use either is very important, and it can really determine the emotion of a scene. And one thing I've learned is camera movement is not always the best. And I've been watching a lot of movies and actually really paying attention to the cinematography and the camera work. And there's a lot of beautiful shots that are locked off, static, but have beautiful movement through the scene itself. And when that clicked, I was like, okay, that's cool. I'm gonna use that a lot. Because when you first get a camera, you first get video, it's all about this, right? It's all about camera movement and stuff. But when you realize the differences and when each needs to be used, oh man, that has helped so much. Okay, you guys are gonna hate me for this point. I know I'm gonna get the warriors down there like I always like to talk about. Gear matters more when it comes to video than it does in photos. When it comes to photos, you just need a camera and a lens, and you can create great photos, like the top tier photos. That's pretty much all you need. And yes, when you're doing video, you can still have that same kind of setup and create amazing things. But the tools that are made for video work are very, very beneficial. Like a video that you guys are going to see very soon is I got a small HD monitor. That has helped so much. Spoiler alert, it's not a great monitor, but it really does help. Like to frame, to focus, and to really see things close and big is really amazing. And of course, there's other video-based gear that I don't even have that I would like that make the job of video easier and better. So don't hate me for that one. Plus, we all have gear acquisition syndrome, so y'all feel me on that one. Patience. The next subject is patience. It is so easy as a photographer, especially when you have a subject or a model or whatever, just to go. Just snap, especially like at a wedding or an event. It's easy just to create shots. When it comes to video, you have to be a little more patient because great videos don't just come like immediately. Like, especially, like say you're doing something that's not rehearsed or anything like that, it's a natural subject out in the field. For example, if you saw my newest reel, I have a video of a rollerblader going through my scene. We were there for like 20 minutes waiting for a cyclist or anyone to cut through my scene like that, because I didn't just want the cars, I wanted an actual like human representing the movement through that. When it comes to photography, yes, there's situations that you need to be patient, like if you're doing insane landscapes where you need certain lighting at a certain point, like in Yosemite where there's that waterfall where the light touches at a certain time and the waterfall turns to fire, pretty much, they call it. There's that, but when it comes to video, most of it is being patient like that, waiting for something to happen to create the movement throughout the scene you want, like we talked about earlier. This one might ruffle some feathers. A beautiful image versus the story that's trying to be told through the video. A lot of the times people will say story matters most and they'll elevate it up, and it doesn't matter if your video's visually pleasing or whatever, as long as it has a good story. I disagree with that, especially with what's on social media right now. There's not as much story on social media, especially within the cinematography and photography world. It's mostly about beautiful images. And we all want to create beautiful looking work. So I think that video has become more of a merger of both. Like let's look at Dune, for example, a beautifully shot movie with an incredible story to it. That perfect merging makes an incredible movie. And yes, story is very important. No one wants to watch a boring video that's just beautiful. I'll admit I've seen those and I click off because there's nothing there's nothing for me to follow other than your pretty images. Oh yeah, you went to Thailand and got to see beautiful things. Don't really care. But when you can combine a beautiful video with an amazing story, I think that is perfect. And that, like, I've always tried to have beautiful videos. Like, obviously, like I said, on social media, everyone has beautiful things. So in my mind, it's always like, if it doesn't look good, it's not good at all. So I've always tried to create the best looking work possible and not relied on any story. Most of my work doesn't have any story, I'll be completely honest with you. But now that I'm getting more into it and realizing the importance of both, it's not just story, it's not just beauty. You actually need both to create an amazing piece of work. And that's it. No, it's taught me a lot. No, there's always stuff we're gonna keep learning. And that's what's so much fun about this craft. Even the people at the top of their game are going to learn new things. And that's one of the reasons I absolutely love photography and cinematography, is because you can always learn and always get better. There's almost no ceiling to what you can create. And it has taught me a lot. I have looked back at my photography because I haven't taken any photos in a long time other than thumbnails for my YouTube videos. And I'm looking back at my photos and I'm like, kind of want to change some things. I'm not a big fan of how I've been coloring recently because I've been really enjoying how I've been coloring my videos, and I've like developed a power grade for my videos with DaVinci for that reel you saw. I was very happy with it, and I was like, oh, things are kind of looking good now, but now my photos don't match. And it's this constant wanting to elevate your skill that is so addicting. I love this. I like, there's no other way to put it. I love doing this so much, and it is so much fun. But yeah, I don't want to keep you guys too much longer. I want to say thank you for watching, like always. And leave your comments. I love reading them. Let's have some conversations about this. And if you have any tips for me to elevate my video to the next game, please tell me. I always read them, and I always take them to heart. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.